Welcome back.
Welcome back.
To the show. It's
Da,
on
da, da,
Tethered
da.
Minds.
I don't know.
We have a theme song.
Yeah.
Which is why we didn't sing one, because
Right.
that would have been really bad.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Episode 3. This is a topic that we kind of want to peel the layers back of kind of what our purpose is in this show and what we are trying to at least convey to the masses, I guess,
To anyone that'll listen.
I mean, honestly, there's going to be people that listen to this that are the same exact mindset as us, right?
Yeah.
But there's the people that really need to listen to are the people that are what we're going to be talking about today.
The people that need to be listening. Yeah. Because that is like one of our goals, we've said it. Not everybody's up to date on what's going on. So we are taking it upon ourselves to educate the masses as much as possible.
Well, it's something we're very passionate about because both of us see what's happening to our country, what's happening to our state. Mm-hmm. And there's people that are just demanding this stuff to happen. Like they are like all for it. And it's simply because they're brainwashed. Yeah. They cannot see for whatever reason that, whatever programming that has been instilled in them at whatever juncture in their life, they cannot see reality for what it is.
Right.
They just believe whatever they're told.
Right. And nowadays, what people don't think about is you can't just believe one thing you see.
Right.
Right.
Well, like we've said, like you got to double, triple, quadruple reference everything.
And I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah.
I have seen so many headlines on Instagram.
Everyone is.
Right. So we're not excluding, we're not saying that we're perfect. It's just, it's very easy to be brainwashed. Oh, which is what we're talking about. We're talking about brainwashing today.
Yeah. Well, like I've said before, we're all brainwashed to an extent.
Yeah.
Right. It's unfortunately since the moment we are born. Yeah. And some of us have been able to break free to an extent, but it's still ingrained in us, right? Like, I mean, I still watch football. I still watch basketball, which is a distraction and it's meant to be a distraction.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So we are going to get into the nitty gritty, talk about brainwashing from its very origins in this country, to the ways that the U.S. has used it against us. And may continue to in some invasive and some non-invasive ways. But lots to cover, man. Lots to cover. Lots. In fact, we were very like, okay, we've got to write a bunch of notes for this episode and really get organized. And then as I sat down to start writing said notes, my brain was just like, here's 5,000 different examples of brainwashing and things to talk about. So there's a lot to cover. And this will be one of many, I think, deep dives down the rabbit hole. Maybe that's what this little series is called.
Deep dives down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, the down the rabbit hole kind of segment. Anywho, we're going to get going. So thank y'all for coming back and enjoy this episode. Starting off at the origins of brainwashing, I think it's very important to know that there is a background in the United States actively doing brainwashing experiments on humans, citizens, some without consent, most without consent, I think. I don't know exactly.
Well, I mean, obviously they're going to, I mean, they'll have volunteers and stuff like that. Right. But, I mean, they're kind of
a lot of it wasn't
on the masses right now without any of our consent.
Right.
So.
Right. So this all began during the Cold War era. They were very much afraid of the propaganda that was coming from China, Korea, the Soviet Union. They had a lot of GIs returning from these areas, and they were afraid that they had been brainwashed into, communist ways of thinking. And it's interesting to me, and this is a question I have for you because it came up in my brain, right? The government says that they were afraid of other countries brainwashing us. So in turn, they wanted to practice their own forms of brainwashing to counteract it, right? these GIs and whatnot would come back to the States after being abroad in these communist countries. And in order to kind of, I think, get the general public behind it, they were coming out with headlines in the news like, you know, new evils seen in brainwashing, brainwashing versus Western psychiatry. So it was really kind of trying to sensationalize this whole thing. Right. And in my brain, as I'm reading about this, it sounds to me that they were trying to get it out into the media to normalize the idea of brainwashing, because they may have already been running different experiments, you know, but now they knew that if results were going to come out, people should be, you know, more neutral, or they're trying to normalize the idea of running experiments on people.
You mean
the way they do things now?
You mean they publicly try to normalize the evil things they do?
Exactly.
No way.
Exactly. Because I'm reading this and I'm like reading these headlines and stuff, and I'm like, wow, they're totally trying to like normalize brainwashing and saying that, well, if the Soviet Union's doing it, so can we.
And we're going to do it better because we're America.
Yeah. And they were, again, using this fear to propagate it and make it seem worse to everybody else so that people would be okay with the idea of us experimenting on our own people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do a lot of that stuff all the time for you to, or for the public to have a different perspective of things. And that way they're more on board, right, with what they're doing. And that is nothing new. They've been doing that for a long time.
Right.
But that's the CIA. The CIA has been behind all of this stuff for so long. They were founded in 1947, I believe. What ended 2 years before that?
I have no idea.
World War II.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard of Operation Paperclip?
Yes.
Do you know what it is?
I can't verbatim tell you now.
Okay. So Operation Paperclip is our government bringing over tons of high-profile Nazi scientists over to the United States, giving them American names, American passports, and basically wiping their history clean. And in return, they would work for the U.S. government. This is shortly after that the CIA came to be. Shortly after that, NASA came to be, right? And so it was all because of these Nazi scientists that came over here. What were the Nazis doing during World War II?
Exactly.
Experiments. They also, after World War II, they also brought a lot of Soviet scientists over here as well. Have you ever heard of the experiment that they did? It was like the gas experiment that they did in the chamber. I want to say it was probably in the 60s, around the Cold War time. But basically, the Soviets put their own people, like 4 of their soldiers, into a room, and they pumped them up full of gas. Which kept them awake. And so what they were trying to do is basically keep a drug to keep their soldiers awake, right?
Oh.
And after a few
Was it the
days...
sleep deprivation one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That
what
one's
is that
trippy,
called?
right?
Yeah.
So these are the types of experience the Soviet Union's doing. These, I mean, we all know what the Nazis were doing in their experiments, right? And so we willingly brought a ton of those people over here after World War II. And now we created the CIA, we've created NASA, we've created all this other stuff, right?
Wow.
And so Operation Mockingbird started around that time, shortly after the CIA. Operation Mockingbird is... that could be a segment itself. There's so much to unload in that. I don't remember. Do you have some of the stuff pulled up on it, like when it was started?
It says that it began through the CIA in the early years of the Cold War.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So
which is 50s.
Yeah. So what they were worried about is, like you were saying earlier, is the communist propaganda, brainwashing, whatever. And so what they would do is they would put subliminal messages and influence entertainment, media, all this other stuff during those times to make people more patriotic, more American, buy America, all that stuff. There's a video on YouTube. You can find it. You probably got to dig for it a little bit. But at the end of every broadcast back in like the 50s and 60s, it would play the Star Spangled Banner, right? Mm-hmm. And it would, play it with the words and everything like that. But in between the words, there's subliminal messages like obey the government.
Oh,
listen.
My God.
Yeah, obey. Don't question.
That shit freaks me out. Like, that's the kind of stuff I don't like. The subliminal stuff.
So they got found out mostly because of the Watergate Committee. Mm-hmm. Because, they were digging deep in everything. And then they found out that the CIA was funding journalism and all this other stuff. And so they realized that high-ranking branches of the government were basically paying journalists to spit out propaganda. Yeah. And so they supposedly disbanded it in the 70s. But, I mean, just watch the news.
The Twitter files.
Right.
Was that not directly like the FBI? Just, anyways. So there was Mockingbird. And then after the fact, so the big one that everybody talks about, I think the biggest probably mind control experiment was Project MK Ultra.
Oh, yeah.
I believe this is what Stranger Things is centered or
loosely. Yeah.
Loosely.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's Netflix, man.
But this is nuts. I had no idea. So it started in 1953. Mm-hmm. Want to take a guess at how long MK Ultra ran? 20 years to 73. They let that shit go on for 20 years. I was so shocked by that because a few, I guess, that led up to MK Ultra lasted a year, 2 years, 3 years, but 20 years. What kind of data did they collect in that time?
I'm pretty sure it's still going on.
I
just think they've
so that's the crazy thing too. Yeah, the other crazy thing is that they said they ended it. There was like when they did that, there was no real explanation as to why. They were like, oh, we found out that we didn't have consent to do this on people, so we're not doing it anymore. And they just kind of disappeared. Yeah. It's very kind of quiet and odd, and so I would not be surprised if it didn't end just because of the way they, quote unquote, ended the whole thing.
Yeah, no, anytime they stop doing something, they keep going. Yeah.
They just stop talking about it in public. Yeah. That's the difference. So MK Ultra being one of the first, one of the most famous, it included numerous methods to manipulate its subjects, their mental states and brain functions, such as the administration of high doses of psychoactive drugs. LSD especially, yeah. Electroshock, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, and then it says, and verbal and sexual abuse, in addition to other forms of torture. Like that's, you guys, literally the CIA was doing that to people without their consent.
So they were making people trip balls on acid and then f***ing with them.
And then what?
And then f***ing with them.
Oh, and then f***ing with them. I thought you said something else.
Them?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, if they were sexually abusing them.
I know. I mean, what else? It's horrible to think about.
I'm just saying.
It's really bad. And to think that it could have been, or most likely was being done on, these soldiers coming back, too, because they're trying to get the brainwashing out of their heads. It's so messed up. Yeah. So this lasted for 20 years. These
people are sick. I said these people are sick.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And before this, there were 2 other projects, same vein, Project Bluebird, and then there's also Project Artichoke, which is weird. Artichoke, the whole point of it was to determine whether a person could be involuntarily made to perform an act of attempted assassination. So to see if you could force somebody to go assassinate somebody, basically.
Why would they need that?
Through hypnosis, forced morphine addiction, and subsequent forced withdrawal, and the use of other chemicals, including LSD, to produce amnesia and other vulnerable states in subjects. And this was all just in the name of interrogation methods or fighting brainwashing from communism. Yeah. They were for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's so sick. And like we say, it could still be still be happening today. So the fact is there is a history of the United States brainwashing its citizens, whether or not they're okay with it. So as we move into more of the things that are happening nowadays that we are talking about, our brainwashing techniques, just keep that in the back of your brain. Mm-hmm. They were pumping people full of drugs, sexually, verbally abusing them, all kinds of shit.
Yeah, like I said, they're not real people.
No,
they're evil.
No, so you can't take the things that we're about to talk about and say, oh, they would never. Because yes, they would. They absolutely would, and they do.
It's documented.
Yes. So, I guess an easier kind of topic to talk about that I think a lot of people can relate to is brainwashing through the use of social media.
Yeah.
I argued that social media, like the platforms we're using, the way we're gaining followers, creating content, all that is separate from news media or children's media.
Well, they're all intertwined to an extent. I mean, they have their own, outlets or whatever they do, whether it's video games or just watching TV and, streaming different things. But I have a theory of why social media is such a major player nowadays and why it's such a prominent force when it comes to the brainwashing aspect. Mm-hmm. Number one, it is making everyone self-absorbed, right? Everyone's chasing clout. Everyone is looking for their 5 seconds of fame. Mm-hmm. I mean, look how many people get famous on TikTok for doing the dumbest things. I mean, seriously, no talent whatsoever. Yeah. Everyone's chasing that, especially Gen Z. You guys are going to hate me. I'm going to poo-poo on you a lot. But it's making everyone self-absorbed, right? And at the same time, it's making everyone disconnected.
Yeah.
Okay, so like you were saying before, we're all divided and all this other stuff, right? Because they're making us use these terms and everything like that, and where we divide ourselves, right? Whether you're this skin color or you're this religion or you're this political party or whatever. Everything is about groups and division, right? Divide and conquer. Yeah. That's what they're doing. So right now they're making everyone self-absorbed, meaning you don't really care about your neighbor or whatever you call it, right? And at the same time, you're isolating yourself because you rather sit in front of a camera with some lights, right? And make some content, right? We're different because we're trying to get a message out there, all right?
The same rules don't apply to us. Right. Rules for thee, but not for me.
But this is why the self-absorption is so important. Mm-hmm. The entire world is Luciferian. Mm-hmm. The entire world belongs to the devil. If you believe in the Bible at all, the Bible says the world belongs to the devil, right? He is the prince of the earth, right?
Yeah.
He controls everything. And the number one thing that Luciferians do, worship themselves.
Yeah.
It's the number one thing they do. So you see everything that's coming together right now. They're bringing in that new world order like we talked about, right? Yeah. But the reason they're bringing in that new world order is it is the end times. They are trying to bring back the Antichrist, whoever the hell he is. I think he might even already be here. Yeah. I think he might already be alive. Yeah. You know what I mean? He might not be an adult yet. Whatever. Yeah. He might not even be a guy.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you know what I mean?
He might identify as a frog.
Right. Them pronouns, Who's there?
That was such a good joke. Oh my God.
But the whole world is Luciferian, right? And so it's, if you're worshiping yourself, if you are glorifying yourself, if you are all about self-satisfaction, which is the whole mantra of Gen Z right now. They are all about what is good for them at that moment. Yeah. Nothing else. Right. They don't care about anything else. They are completely self-absorbed, right? I know this a little bit more firsthand because I work with so many of them, right? Yes. I employ a lot of Gen Zs, and they are the worst workers I have ever had to work with. Yeah. It's absolutely insane.
It blows me away, the stories that he tells me.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I haven't been late in 2 weeks. Can I get a raise? What?
That one I tell all the time to people. I'm like, listen to what these shithead kids said to Tavis the other day.
Dude,
yeah.
You were late every day for like 4 months.
I was afraid to ask for like a 50-cent raise after a year at my job.
Yeah, it's crazy, the stories I tell you.
Yeah, there's something about this generation it's different, and it's being, if you think about it though,
it's social media.
Yes, and that is
they're the first generation to grow up with social media.
Stop taking the words out of my mouth. No, but to grow up like from day one.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up with it more in a sense when I was younger than you. But even
Facebook. That was you, right?
I mean,
that was your generation was Facebook. You guys were the ones that like started out on that, right? Because we were MySpace.
Well, I started on MySpace.
Oh.
He's trying to take me out of the MySpace generation, honey.
Well,
I mean, I was
great.
young, but
MySpace was great.
Oh, MySpace was great. Yeah, but that was
Tom's
the thing
living
too.
his best life right now. By the way, that dude just travels the world.
I know,
being a photographer.
Dude,
That's all
did it right. He did it the right way. Yeah, but you think about it, like I had maybe a couple hours at absolute most, to be on the computer at nights at home. So then, like, too, when you were even on MySpace, it was super kind of confrontational.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just creating content. We were, like, coding, but then you had to create, like, a top 8. So you're ranking your friends on, like, a daily basis.
Yeah.
That shit is wild. Imagine how many, like, little Gen Z shitheads would be like, you hurt my
Not
feelings.
the snowflakes,
Yeah. You kids have no idea how savage the MySpace days were.
Well, what's crazy is these kids grew up watching South Park. Mm-hmm. How are they offended by everything?
Did they, though?
Well, I mean, I did.
Yeah, but so I think Gen Z is like growing up watching
Family Guy
or like BoJack Horseman or.
But still, that's offensive stuff.
Is it? I don't watch that shit. I can't watch that shit.
Family Guy is. I don't know
what kids watch anymore. Do kids even watch those old TV shows? Like, I don't know.
Are they just all
stream?
on TikTok?
Or they're on TikTok? Yeah, because I mean, YouTube is falling. Anyways, we're getting off topic, but the fact of the matter is that social media rules this younger generation now.
Yeah, very much so.
And it's for a purpose. There is a reason that these kids have no work ethic. They have no sense of pride or respect for the people around them or their job.
Because on social media, it's glorified to like just quit your job and walk out and all this other stuff and go late because they can't afford to fire you type of stuff. Like, dude, what?
Yeah, and I know I've seen a lot of even, kids maybe 5 to 10 years younger than me. Yeah. They're at these corporate jobs now demanding things from their CEOs that the CEOs are like, no. We're not doing this. That's not how you run a company. There's a lot of pushback lately, I guess.
Well, I do think a lot of
just suck.
A lot of corporations are bending the knee, though.
They are. They are.
It's all the woke culture.
Yep.
Another form of brainwashing.
Yeah.
So like this show we were watching the other night, right? Mm-hmm. I get it. It's Netflix, whatever, but they're trying to have a diverse crew. I get it.
Yeah.
But like, there's 10 people on the show, something like that, and more than half of them are gay, and more than half of them are black.
Yeah.
Black people make up 18, maybe 20% of the population now, and the alphabet community is like 3%.
Yeah.
What? How is that a representation of your audience?
Right. It's not.
You know what I mean? And it's not like an all black show, right? Or it's meant for an all black audience.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and it wouldn't even be a big deal that that's what their cast looks like.
Right.
The big deal is that they go into these little groups within the show of just the black people, and they're like the melanin group.
Yeah, Team Black.
Yeah. And at that rate, I hate to call
let's see all the white people getting in group. Yeah, the white team.
And how would that be portrayed? That would be awful. It would be called like #white supremacy only.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I just think it's so. I don't want to play the reverse racism
Team
card,
heteros.
but like, oh my God. Yeah. God, the last thing you'll ever hear me do is running around screaming that I'm straight.
I think one little thing, and I've told you this before, that we can do in our daily lives to counter wokeism and brainwashing and everything else is bring back 90s and 2000s slang.
He's been on a roll with this
one.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know what they are. You know what they are. We got to post this stuff, there. And, they like to shadow ban. So
yeah, so we got to be a little careful.
but you know what they are.
You know.
You see me in person, I'll give you the list, okay?
Well, so speaking of wokeness and everything, woke terminology, it also has a rise and another brainwashing background. Could you imagine that? Yeah. The fact that these terms, these woke terminology, even like the word racism, all of these things have been thrown at us for a reason. And do you guys know the reason? No.
Division.
So, this is...
multiplication, subtraction.
Yes.
Carry the 4.
So this theory goes that back around 2010 or 2011, the word racism, feminism, patriarchy, all these different divisive terms started popping up in some of the largest newspapers, media outlets, New York Times, New York Post, started popping up in these publications like crazy around 2010 and 2011. So around this time, there were these two separate parties. You had both on the right and the left. You had your Tea Party, and then you had the Occupy movement. They were all up in arms about these banker bailouts.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh. It was both sides.
Yes, both sides. They had their own different groups, but a lot of
one was liberal, one was conservative, or far right, or whatever. Yep. But yeah, same purpose, basically.
So they were fighting the same evil. We haven't done that since, so keep that in mind. So outside, these banks, they were going and protesting and whatever. The leftist populists who were out there were screaming about, the 99%, which is all of us versus the banks. The banks didn't like that.
Right.
They don't want us to look at them and say us versus them, when instead it could be us versus us. Right. So why let them protest us? Instead, let's just use our little tricky ways to influence them, to divide them instead, so that it's now going to be, left versus right.
Yeah, divide
and so you see these different words popping up in the 2010, 2011 time, because people like the New York Times, Washington Post were all talking about it like crazy. They're pointing out gays versus straights, white versus blacks, yada, yada, yada. Everything that we see now. The theory behind all that is that the banks were paying off these different media groups to put all this out there. They were paying off the leftists to shut up, basically, about us versus the banks. You started seeing like pride parades where there were floats that were sponsored by Citibank or sponsored by, these big banks. And so the whole thing is that maybe they were paying off the media, which could be, like we've said, very plausible since they've done it in the past, so that way they could break up the movement that was the real threat to them.
Well, like I've told you before, the bankers run everything. Mm-hmm. Everything. So they run the media, they run everything, and so they put out whatever message they want. But it's the whole divide and conquer. That's all they do. Yeah. They are divisive in every single possible way. Yeah. What I do think is funny is there's still people that are like the Democrats are the party of the little guy and the poor and the unfortunate. No, they're the party of the very filthy rich right now. Yeah. Right? There are way more filthy rich Democrats.
We have nothing in common with Nancy Pelosi.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
No.
Because she's not one of us. She's not a normal person. She's like, we fight with the people.
None of them are.
They're lies.
None of them are.
Yeah.
They don't do anything.
Yeah.
Look, it's all fake.
It's all fake. It's all fake. But like the bankers, they're doing this. Same time, Big Pharma. Mm-hmm. What were they doing the last 3 years? What are they still doing?
Yeah.
They're pushing this friggin' vaccine.
Yeah. And now people are having heart attacks.
Yeah. And now there are so many different cases of stroke, heart attack, myocarditis with people who got the vaccine that the CDC is actually having to look into it. That came out today. That they are officially looking into and investigating all these connections. Like, it's about time. OSHA reversed their mandate. So Anybody?
Yeah, but you can't sue the vaccine companies.
No, you cannot.
No, that went away a long time ago.
Well, when you get that COVID shot, you're signing away your rights to sue them if something goes wrong.
It's all vaccines.
Is it?
All vaccines, and it's been that way for like 20-something years.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you have any negative side effect from any vaccine, you are not allowed to sue the manufacturer.
Of course not. But I mean, think about it, you guys. Like, they divided us for how many years, still trying to do that by saying, you're vaccinated, I'm not, you're horrible, evil.
Yeah.
You can point out so many different scenarios. The military-industrial complex.
Right.
They're also working to divide us.
Right.
Are you against Ukraine or are you for Ukraine?
Right.
That's a big debate. You're a bad person if you don't support it. You're a good person if you do.
Right.
It's
who says that? But that's the thing. Who determines that?
Exactly.
Who determines if you're a good person or a bad person? The people that have been lying to us for all these years?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
No. Not anymore.
I saw someone ask on Twitter a couple of days ago, and it was, someone that's kind of a centrist or whatever, but said, honest question for the unvaccinated. What was your decision on not getting vaccinated? Mine is simple. All the people that I don't trust were telling me to get it.
Exactly.
All the people I don't trust are telling me to get it.
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, I'm not going to listen to those people.
Well, I'm like, I followed the science, okay? Yeah. I had COVID. I recovered from it in a few days. And let me tell you, I was not healthy at the time. Like, heavier than I am now. I was not in great shape. It could have been worse, but I was totally fine. It was like allergies, And they say if you've had it, you should be fine. So why would I go and get a vaccine? Yeah. A manufactured immunoresponse? Why?
Well, what I think is funny is the supposed party of science doesn't ever check the science.
And then when they're like, oh, the science is saying that these things don't work, they're like, but still go and get it anyways, just in case.
I trust science. No, you trust scientists.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah, you trust scientists hired by the government.
Fauci we trust.
Fauci is a piece of shit human being who made royalties off of probably every fucking vaccine they gave out.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure he was behind the whole AIDS thing, too.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes. That's an episode also. That's an episode. So,
sidebar on that, though.
Uh-huh.
Fauci did put out a article in a newspaper in like 2016, right when Trump got elected, or 2017, something like that, right when Trump got elected, and basically said that there was a high chance of a pandemic happening during Trump's presidency.
Mm-hmm. Because he manufactured it.
Yeah. Well, they were already working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it was supposed to happen under Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
But it was supposed to happen the same year. But it was supposed to look like Hillary was on top of it and everything was great and all this other stuff, right? But because Trump was president, they flipped everything.
Yeah.
Right? They made it like, oh, Trump's killing all these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trump is killing all these people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a virus that's going into everybody's body.
And doing it to them. Yeah. Well, okay, so Donald Trump is another great example for brainwashing. Because how many times can I hear Orange Man bad, Orange Man bad, Orange Man bad, Orange Man bad, Russia collusion, Russia collusion. No.
It was Hillary with Russia.
Well, regardless
but
of who the
it wasn't Trump, it was Hillary.
Regardless, we spent how much time and taxpayer money to investigate the Russian collusion that they found no evidence of. The problem is that so many Democrats still believe that Trump had something to do with Russian collusion, was working with Russia. But that's only because the media, 7 times before you commit something to memory? Like you have to hear something.
It's 3 times before you commit something to memory.
Yeah.
7 times before you believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
like with everything, you believe it as reality.
So think if the media is going on and on every fucking day about how bad he is. It doesn't matter if the message is true or not, because by the time we get to the bottom of what actually happened or what's the truth really is, they've already got it in your brain that he's the devil.
Okay. We're going to go way down a rabbit hole real quick. So yes, the media is brainwashing people to believe a certain narrative, right? Yeah. But the powers to be.
You say it with the same intonation and everything every time. It's going to sound like the same recording.
The powers to be, or the infamous they that rule the universe.
Okay, the infamous they.
Okay, so the infamous they that rule the universe. They are very symbolic. They're all about symbolism and everything else. Right. And one of the things that they're symbolic with is duality. This is why you see a lot of black and white checkered floors, and a lot of music videos, a lot of sets, a lot of just different things, I guess. And the whole thing with duality is you have to have two different sides to something, right? So if you look at just mainstream media alone, you have a conservative voice with Fox News. Right. And you have liberal voice with CNN. But you also have MSNBC, ABC, NBC, and PBS. You have all of these other news stations that are all liberal. Yeah. And you have one that's conservative. Right? Now you have OAN and all that. But
that's not on everybody's
They're not they're not mainstream, right? So it's the delusion of choice, right? If you have 4 or 5 different news stations giving the same exact message over and over and over again, and you only have one opposition saying something different, the person that's uneducated on the topic is going to believe what the majority says, right? Especially if they all align and work well together, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right. It's like that
because why would that many people be lying to you about the same thing over and over again if it weren't true?
Right. But that's that's something that's crazy to me too, is
blind trust.
How can you be that naive?
Blind trust.
Right?
I know.
Like, how can you be that naive? Okay. I get if you're a kid. You're dumb. You haven't lived life. I get it. Gen Z, 22 and under, 4 and under, whatever. I get it. You haven't really lived life. You don't really know what you're talking about. Yeah. I understand. Unless you had to grow up early. I get it. Whatever. But these people that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s that are still voting Democrat, it's insane. Yeah. It's like that, what is she, a congresswoman that's like 80-something years old? She got purple hair.
The one in Connecticut?
Yeah.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
They're so delusional. And so, like, for example...
What's her name?
What was her name? Rosa DeLauro. Yeah. This fucking lady. Oh my God. Like I said, we were kind of like, oh, we're going to have such an outline for this episode. And then we just kept seeing things popping up throughout the week. And we're like, okay, we're going to add this. Oh, yeah. So let's see. This was the 11th or 12th of January of 23. Yeah. Rosa DeLauro, who is a Democrat in Connecticut, who has blue,
purplish blue hair, whatever. I don't know.
Disgusting hair.
Yeah.
It
literally looks like she took a handful of paint and like smeared it in her hair.
I mean, you would think all the money.
It's not done well at all.
No, like hire a hairstylist. You have money. You're laundering it from. She's
old.
Yeah. And she lives in Connecticut. Where the fuck is Connecticut? Yeah. So anyways, Rosa DeLauro, she put out a video to her loyal constituents.
Like all 5 of them.
Yeah. She could probably pull as big of a crowd as Katie Hobbs and Joe Biden. Oh. Okay, anyway, so this blue-haired demon.
Crowd with a fart. They'd be like, that's impressive.
We have very high opinions. This woman. But she came out in response to the new, what was it, a Republican bill? Or
yeah, it's the bill that the Republicans in Congress want to put through that will abolish federal income tax.
Yes.
And defund the IRS.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I don't think the IRS is ever going to go away.
No, but I mean they're talking about defunding them, so cutting out the 87,000 that they were just approved for.
Huge.
Right? Huge. It's 87,000 new agents that they were just approved for. And then getting rid of federal income tax.
Yeah, which at the heart of everything means we have so much more money put back in our pockets.
Yeah. But here is a lesson in brainwashing. She basically said, the very first bill that the Republicans passed through, they don't care about the average American that hasn't gotten a raise in 2 years, that's been struggling with the pandemic and can barely afford to put food on their table. So they're going to give tax cuts to the billionaire corporations. What?
Not at all, bitch.
I mean, technically, yes. But technically, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
So everyone falls under that umbrella.
Yeah. I'm on board with trickle-down economics.
Very much so.
It's just, to me, it's just logical. I've always been like, well, of course, if the company has more money.
Trump was great.
Yeah. I had a lot more money then.
What was crazy, too, is when Trump did his first tax cuts for everyone.
Yeah.
I think it was Verizon. Verizon used the money that they got from their tax cuts from Trump cutting the taxes.
Yeah.
And they gave like every single one of their employees, whether you worked in the warehouse or you were a salesman or whatever, they gave every single one of their employees like a $2,000 bonus.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you work for a good company.
Right.
That's going to take care of you.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying Verizon's a good company, selling our information to NSA and all that, but
yeah. Yeah. Well,
that's a whole nother topic.
With everyone.
Hi, FBI agent.
But at the end of the day, here we are. Democrats are trying to get us to believe that tax cuts are bad for us.
Yeah.
You know how much money we're paying in taxes?
Yeah, they always raise taxes. That's their forte, is raising taxes. They love raising taxes. Well, and
like we talked about with Ukraine, we're going to pay for all that money. It's us. It's going to be our children, our children's children. Yeah. They f***ed us on that front. Yeah. We had to pay the January 6th lawyers, which what the f***? I don't believe in January 6th. I mean, all of our money is being just drained. By our government.
I mean, this might be a little too much for a lot of people to take, but I give us less than 10 years to take our country back, or else we're f***ed. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be way shorter than that, but I'm trying to be optimistic. And this is why we're trying to do this. We're trying to wake people the f*** up, because if all of us can get together and say, f*** you, government, they can't do a goddamn f***ing thing.
Yeah.
We outnumber them a lot.
Yeah.
There's not a single thing they could do. If every single person in the United States said, f*** it, I'm not going to work, I'm not paying taxes, I ain't doing shit. There's not a single f***ing thing the government can do. There's not. But everyone's afraid.
Yeah.
No one will do it because this person's not doing it, and this person's not doing it.
Well, not even that. It's because how do we survive if we don't?
Prepare. Get ready.
But it's really hard for people to do when our regular groceries for the week are astronomical, and then you're like, okay, well, we're going to need you to prepare this much for this battle. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, they have us so wrapped up in a system of go.
That's why it'll never end.
I know.
And it's getting worse right now. And right now, there's nothing we can do about it.
I know.
And that's why we're trying to do something about it.
And that's just, it's such a vicious
Starting a revolution one way or the other.
But we're not inciting that. We are not inciting a revolution, Tavis. We are not
a revolution of the mind.
We're just telling you, use your frickin' brain. God
gave
you
unlock people's minds.
Yeah, God gave you that brain. Use it, please. Start thinking for yourself. People don't like to think for themselves either anymore. Another brainwashing technique they use: celebrities. Celebrities, and Olivia Rodrigo, who's like 18 at the time, goes to the White House.
I don't even know who that is.
She is a singer, huge pop star nowadays. Kids freaking love her.
I don't listen to mainstream.
No, but like, this is what's happening. He's not in it. I'm young. I'm hip. I'm in with the kids.
I can't listen to anything that's on the radio.
Okay, well, that's not the point. The point is that they use these celebrities to not only alter the minds of like adults, Bono can come out and say vote for Biden, and all the 65 plusers will, yeah. But now they're getting even to our kids with these younger celebrities, sending an 18-year-old to the White House to like hang out with Biden. It's such a joke.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I am so glad you brought that up, because do you know they put Obama in video games?
What?
Mm-hmm. They put Obama in video games. I don't know if they put Biden in. I don't know. I haven't
What do you mean they put Obama in video games? Lately.
So, in Madden for NFL and NBA 2K, they put Obama in there. So if you played like the franchise mode or whatever and you won the championship, you went to the White House and you met Obama.
What?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That started back in like 2009.
That's...
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like how they tried to make Obama a celebrity.
Oh, yeah.
He was going on and doing like his draft picks or his
that was the whole thing too.
Bracket on late night.
Like you were talking before, the whole terms racism, that was all under him.
Yeah.
You know, and if you were not black and you were criticizing Obama for all the bad shit he was doing, because he was doing a lot of bad stuff. He was. You were considered racist and all these other things. Don Lemon, that dumb bastard. I
hate him.
Yeah, he was talking about how when Trump won, this is a white lash. This is a white America being racist because we had a black president for 8 years. How does a white man beating a white woman have anything to do with race? Absolutely
nothing.
Right.
But you know how many people listen to that and we're like, you know what, Don, you're right.
They ate it up. They're NPCs. They're Look, it's going to come down to us. All right. It's going to come down to us. People like you and me, people like you that understand what we're talking about, right? It's going to come down to us to finally step up. There's so many people out here in this world that are NPCs that will never evolve. They will never get out of that brainwashing because they are way too entrenched. Those people are lost souls. We can't do anything about them. The only thing we can do is people that come looking for the information, we can give it to them. Right? We can help them out. We can show them a little bit of the way and stuff. Give them whatever information that we have and that we know for a fact.
Right.
And that's the thing, too. We're not sitting here trying to be like journalists. We're not sitting here... Right. We're not sitting here being like, so in today's news, no, we're not trying to do that. We're trying, as the thing says, have a down-to-earth conversation about a world gone insane, because the world has gone insane. It is absolutely crazy out there, and it is because of the brainwashing. It is because of social media. It's because of all of it. Social media is the number one downfall of society in modern time right now. It really is.
You guys have to understand too that like Tavis and I have spent years collectively, like probably over a decade at least, looking into these things, seeing headlines, reading into things, going down those rabbit holes.
I'm almost 20 years in at this point.
Exactly. So it's like we've done the work for you.
I'm like 16 years in. Yeah.
We have done the work for you, and it's not that we're saying everything we bring up is fact or everything is going to be 100% true, because at this day and age,
there's going to be modern details.
It's so hard to figure out what is real and what's not.
Right.
But these are all things that we've learned in our collective time, and
it makes sense.
Yeah, and it's how we feel about it. It's our opinion.
Well, there's certain things too that I'll bring up and like, look, there's a theory, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because it correlates and lines up with the pattern of reality that has been proven, right? So like you were saying, when people are like, well, our government would never do those things. Dude, they're literally doing those things right now as we're talking.
And they've done worse.
Right?
Yeah.
They're literally doing those things right now as we're talking. You know?
Well, that's another point too, is conspiracy theories. Okay, this word, or the phrase conspiracy theories, plural, whatever, was used in the 1800s for completely different reasons. Kind of not important to the conversation, but it was a phrase.
Not in the way that it's used today.
Okay, but that's what that's. Hold on, cowboy.
Yeah.
Just the original origin of the word or the phrase conspiracy theory was from the 1800s. It changed when, what year did JFK get assassinated? Wow, that's a real flub.
62.
Whenever it was, JFK got assassinated. You guys can do that research. That's easy. All of a sudden, that word, that phrase, conspiracy theory, came back out. Mm-hmm. You know, there was no official document that said, all right, here's the official narrative. We're calling everything else conspiracy theory.
No, but the media would call it that.
Yes.
And so the government never said those terms during that time frame. But the JFK assassination is accredited to being the first conspiracy theory.
Right.
What did we just find out?
Yeah. So,
I'm just saying.
Well, and if you haven't heard, I was on, Tucker was talking about it for sure. Tucker was probably the only freaking person talking about it.
Yeah, but it's declassified.
Yes. They officially declassified documents around the JFK assassination.
Yeah, it was the CIA.
Yeah. What do you know? So it's just funny. As we talk about this, we can now say the first real conspiracy theory of JFK's assassination being plotted, come up from within the CIA. Yeah. It was real. So it was proved to be true.
The CIA is behind a lot of stuff, man. All right. So the FBI, all they're going to do is investigate you. Okay. They'll arrest you, whatever. They'll investigate you, wiretap you, all that stuff. The CIA is involved in pretty much everything else.
Yeah.
That new movie that's coming out, Cocaine Bear, right? About this bear that eats however many kilos of cocaine and then goes on a killing rampage, right? That's from a crashed CIA plane.
Interesting.
The CIA was smuggling cocaine in from Mexico and in from like the Bahamas and all this other stuff. And during that time frame, George Bush Sr. was president, who was the head of the CIA before he was vice president for Reagan. And they were mostly doing it, their main landing point in the United States was Arkansas. Who was the governor of Arkansas during that time frame?
I don't know.
Bill fucking Clinton.
Of fucking course.
Yep. Slick Willie.
Wow, Slick Willie. Oh, I like that. I've never heard that before.
Slick Willie.
That's funny. Yeah. That's really funny. You can't trust anybody.
No.
You can't trust them at this point. Even recently too, Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence was raided for having classified documents that what he had while he was president. Like he didn't return officially to the Library of Congress or some bullshit.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Well,
okay. If you are a president, you are allowed to take certain things home with you. And yes, they're technically official documents, but that doesn't mean they're like nuke codes or you know what I mean? It doesn't mean they're anything that is of value.
Yeah.
It just means that there's some documents, some things that you had while you were president.
Right.
That's
but it was
it's classified because it's for the president.
Yeah, right. But it was a huge deal. Yeah. Huge deal. They went and raided his residence in the middle of the night.
Over it, yeah.
For a sitting president to do that to a former president, that was holy shit.
Well, and the president that was president before him, his predecessor, was wiretapping him and everything before he was president.
Yep. Well, it turns out too that guess who also has classified documents where he shouldn't?
Yeah.
Joe fucking Biden. And where is he keeping them? In the garage next to his Corvette.
Yeah.
But now...
just in a box.
Now,
just in boxes.
Yeah. They're seeing okay, shit, this is hypocrisy if we don't go after him.
Right.
Because people aren't that stupid. Well, some people aren't.
Most are.
Yeah. But instead of them, prosecuting or going through the same steps with Biden that they did Trump, they're just out here on mainstream media saying, well, technically they did the same thing, but Trump is so much worse, so it's fine. No, that's not how that works. If you're going to prosecute one man to the highest of laws for something, you can't not do it to the next too. So
remember my description of Democrats?
Yeah.
Right? The perfect example of what a Democrat is. As far as the politicians, right? The people that vote Democrat are just stupid. Democrats will steal from you. Then they'll have you arrested. Then they'll scold you on why stealing is bad. And then they will never let you out of jail.
Yep.
That's Democrats in a nutshell.
Yeah.
They do everything that they're accusing you of doing. Everything that they are, they accuse their opposition.
Yep.
So everything that they painted Trump as, this horrible, misogynistic, racist, blah, 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 is 100% who Biden is.
There's video proof that I'm posting constantly.
Biden has such a racist past, man. He's got such a racist past.
Well, even recently I saw a video clip of him when he was younger, and he's talking about, we have really big things to handle, like our economy and our border safety, but instead we're deciding to focus on if a man can marry a man. That's stupid.
That was when he was VP.
Yeah.
That was when he was VP.
Now it's changed. They don't show you that. They would never want you to see that. And I feel like anytime I post about that kind of stuff, it's just into the void. But it's so important.
Yeah. Well, it's into the void on purpose.
Yes.
Because they control social media.
Well, yeah. But...
And who works at social media?
Well, yeah.
And the brainwashed college grads.
Yep. Oh, yeah. College is a joke, man.
College is nothing more than a brainwashing facility.
Well, I mean, imagine this. So you go to a college and you get a liberal studies degree.
Right.
In arts, gender studies.
Yeah.
Let's go real generic with the liberals.
Yeah, where are you going to go with that?
You get that degree, you're 100 and whatever in debt, but you know what? You're going to work at the school afterwards, teaching same said course. And you keep doing that to the kids who come through, and you keep teaching, and it keeps going, and it keeps that same brainwashing.
Worse and worse each time.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like telephone.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and then those kids end up leaving schools, and they go to work at, say, tech companies.
Other schools. Yeah. Or tech companies where they will purposely censor opposing viewpoints.
Well, and that's if they're in that power, but then they even go in there and they start trying to implement their ideologies on the company, on the CEOs. And like I was saying earlier, it's gotten to a point where the CEOs are like, no, this isn't your company. Yeah. But they try to put pressure on. Like Netflix, the employees were trying to cancel Dave Chappelle and get him off the platform. Because they thought he was being offensive. Yeah. Well, Netflix, as stupid as they are, and as much as I dislike them, they were like, there's no way. We're not biting to this. Like, well, he makes us too much money.
To some people, money means everything. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Dave Chappelle is probably one of the greatest stand-up comedians in at least our generation, our lifetime, right? And so, I mean, they're not going to be like, you know what, Dave, you don't have a platform here anymore. We got all these woke people upset. Exactly. Right. Now, if their logo had a blackface on it, then, the woke mob, they'd change it.
Yeah.
Or if they were something, whatever, something, offensive, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But it's all bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's all bullshit. All of it is bullshit. It's all brainwashing. The wokeness is absolutely insane. Like I said, I'm going to walk around and do my anti-PC language everywhere I go. I'm not having it.
Yeah.
I'm not having it.
No. And so I guess too, that's where I wanted to maybe end off this initial conversation. We have just scratched the surface. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
But my question, and I guess, I don't know, I've been thinking about like the change in the tide. I think there are certain happenings, instances, events going on in the past few years, whatnot, that people are starting to kind of go, I don't know about that one. We had COVID. They said the efficacy rates of these vaccines, you're not going to get it. Yeah. You're going to be fine. It can't transmit it. And then we learned through time that, nope, you can still get it. You can still transmit it. And you know what? The death rate is still very low. It's not very, people are seeing through those kind of lies, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. So people
aren't wearing masks anymore, for the most part.
Well, you can only keep people afraid of
mostly
things for
done
so
getting
long.
Boosters. Yeah.
And that goes with everything too. I mean, look how many things we've been desensitized to over the years that, like you see someone getting their ass kicked in the streets and then everyone just pulls out their phone and yells World Star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right?
World Star hip hop. Yeah, I fucking remember.
But that's what I mean, right? Like when someone's hurt on the street, everyone just records. Mm-hmm. And so we're all desensitized to that aspect.
Yeah.
And it's all intentional. It's all to get us to not care. Like I said, it's all about self-love rather than love thy neighbor type thing, right? Because that's one of the things in the Bible, one of the commandments, love thy neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to love thy neighbor if you love yourself.
I think it's like self-righteousness.
Well, that's what I mean. Self-worship.
You know? Yeah. Right. Self-worship. I like that.
Self-anointing.
Right.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. You're seeing yourself as the Almighty. But I do think COVID, and even like now that there are so many, not so many because... Huh?
I was like, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I forgot.
Keeping him on track over here.
Yeah. 2020. I saw this lady. So all the people that were doing the anti-lockdown protests and stuff. Most of it was over in Europe, right? I mean, there weren't too many anti-lockdown protests here.
Yeah.
There was BLM protests, but there weren't too many anti-lockdown protests. But I saw a lady holding a sign that said, when you something like when you try to implement a pandemic but accidentally create a mass awakening. When you lock people in their rooms or in their homes and all they have is the internet, you start digging. And if you scroll through TikTok, if you scroll through YouTube, your feeds, whatever, you start seeing some stuff that you don't typically see because now you got all this time where you're just sitting at home. I don't know how I feel about this part, and I kind of believe it and I kind of don't, but it's my own theory.
Here we go.
I think they're purposely showing us everything now. I think the people in charge are purposely showing us everything. The powers to be, whatever, the infamous they that rule the universe. I think they're pulling back the veil. Because one thing with all those people is they've always had to put it in our face, right? They've always had to put it in our face and still get away with it.
Yeah,
that's like their game. That's their whole shtick in a sense. But now it's way more evident than what it used to be. Like the brainwashing and stuff used to be so subtle, but now everything is in your face all the time.
Well, why would you think they're doing that though?
I don't know.
Is it because they just think that people have gotten so dumb they're not seeing it?
I think they're trying to usher in the end times. I think they're trying to bring about the Antichrist, the end of this current world as we know it. That doesn't necessarily mean life on earth will cease to exist, because the Bible doesn't even say that.
Yeah.
It just says that the era ends, right? So, I don't know.
But I just wonder, why be so obvious with all these things?
Because they have to be. Because they have to do it.
What good would that do them?
Because they're still doing it and we're still accepting it. Because if they do these evil things and they put it out in front of us and they get away with it, well, then that's on us now for not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They are free from any guilt, any blame. Because they did it and we didn't do anything to stop them.
Yeah.
And we allow them to keep doing it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think 2020 did open up a lot of people's eyes. Because you had the chance to do it, but it also, that was the first time that I think legislation and our government really made an impact on everybody. Everybody felt something from 2020 till now. Right. Whether it was financially, whether it was, feeling lied to. Yeah. It's impacted us all, Yeah. Losing jobs, losing houses, not having, money to pay for groceries nowadays, gas prices. It's affecting everybody in everyday things, finally. And so I think it's harder for people to ignore it. They're being avoidant because they don't want to recognize it's there, because once you realize it's happening, your whole outlook on everything changes. So
this is why I was telling you the other day, we were having this conversation, and I was telling you that I feel like it's up to our generation. It's up to millennials. And I don't even like calling myself a millennial, because I'm in that upper bracket of millennials, in between Gen X and the average millennial, right? We think different than everyone else. We just do. But it's only millennials that really see things for what they really are. I mean, obviously there's outliers in different generations and all that stuff, but for the bulk of the generations, it's really only millennials that are the ones digging deep and looking for, all right, if this is in the news, what the hell is going on?
Yes.
Right? So like the whole Andrew Tate getting arrested on trafficking charges, the Tate brothers, right? Yeah. Well, now he's getting charged with money laundering because those are the actual charges. But the reason why he got arrested for trafficking was because the Virgin Islands was supposed to have a lawsuit against J.P. Morgan for their financial involvement with Epstein on Epstein's Island in the Virgin Islands.
Right. Wow, who was in the Virgin Islands on vacation?
Oh, yeah. Biden was down there.
At the same time.
And before he left, the Attorney General, who was leading the lawsuit against J.P. Morgan for the Virgin Islands, was fired.
Yep.
Where have we heard that before?
Yeah.
Man, he loves firing Attorney Generals, doesn't he?
Sure does.
Ukraine, Virgin Islands.
It's distractions upon distractions. I mean, anytime something big happens in pop culture and all these headlines are like, oh, look what Jake Paul did, or, whatever the hell's going on.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many deeper things happening that are more important.
Oh, yeah.
But they're going to bury it. The funny thing is,
but the fact that they charged or said the whole Tate thing was trafficking, that was them putting it in our face.
Yes.
What they're really concealing. Yeah. And the real trafficking charge was the J.P. Morgan thing.
Right.
They're literally telling you what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You just have to have the right eyes for it. That's it.
Yeah. Because in truth, finding information online about these darker things that they don't want you to know about is really hard. My dad tries to be very objective and watch CNN and Fox to see what they're both talking about. But whenever he sees something happening that Fox is reporting on, he'll go over to CNN and be like, well, what are they talking about right now? And they're usually talking about something super irrelevant, or they're talking about the new COVID, whatever.
The new
variant. Yeah. And then so he'll go onto CNN's website and look up that same topic. And it's like 12th page of CNN. Mm-hmm. So they're literally burying the information so that even when you want to go and find it, good luck. I was trying to find the origin Google. Of conspiracy theory of all of this. And the articles I'm reading, I don't know what to believe. Yeah. Because it is there an agenda? Journalism is a joke. I don't trust. What do we even trust anymore? I don't know. With all this, the media, all the article, all the news.
Question everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question everything.
Yep. I think that's the biggest lesson to take away from any of this. I think things are changing a little bit. The tide is starting to turn between COVID kicking things off, giving people more brain space to think about what's happening behind the scenes, independent media that's rising up, nowadays. You do have podcasts that you can listen to that isn't run by, Disney at the end of the day, who's run by whoever, Right. Independent people, independent journalists, a lot of experts who are actually experts are coming out and speaking in these kind of free forum places too. And so there are places that you can get more information now. Right. Which is awesome. Right. It's not just CNN and Fox anymore. And you're seeing that in CNN's numbers. You're seeing that in MSNBC's numbers.
Oh, CNN's tanking.
They have no viewers. So it's just very interesting.
Didn't they try to do the pay for the app or whatever?
CNN Plus.
Oh, dude.
They had to cancel it within like 2 weeks of launching.
Yeah, because nobody
wanted the subscription service for CNN. Yeah, good riddance. I wouldn't either.
Well, okay. So look. The people that pay attention to politics do not vote Democrat. Mm-hmm. They just don't. Except for like the handful of old people that are just, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's the kids. Yeah. It's the kids that don't pay attention to shit. Yep. So they're not going to watch CNN. No. They don't watch MSNBC. No. They don't watch any of that bullshit. No. They get all of their shit from thumbnails and TikTok. Yep. Everything.
Yeah. No, it's very true. It's very true. They love all those just baseless headlines that you don't know what you're looking at. So...
What? This happened? I'm angry. Yeah. I support the current thing.
Yeah. Just people are so nuts. And so we urge you to untether, get away from this stuff when you can. If you're watching CNN and Fox News, just stop. Yeah. There's so many better places that you can get information that's not as biased. It's just you have to be aware of everything going on all the time. We're all getting brainwashed constantly.
Constantly.
Be more aware.
Yeah.
You know, start looking at things differently.
Like I said, we're all brainwashed. It's just being aware.
Yeah. Just trying your best to not fall for everything. Well, on that note, brainwashing. Woo! We covered a lot.
Well, this one we wanted to just kind of give a general idea of the brainwashing aspect. I think, like you said, we create a series out of this.
Yeah.
And then we dive a little bit deeper each time.
Into each kind of component.
Onto a specific topic.
Yeah. Because we just want to really give you guys kind of an outlook to where you can start believing the things that we're saying.
Right.
And, you know, we want to provide you with enough evidence and proof of actual things that have happened with dates as much as we possibly can find, because you know, we're taking it on as our mission to show you other things are happening and help make you believe.
Well, and I absolutely despise giving incorrect information. I really do.
We've done so many re-recordings. Oh my gosh.
I really do.
The late nights
I do not want to put information out there, and unless I say there's a theory or my theory or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Then obviously that negates any proof, right? But if I'm going to give something that, hey, these are the things that happened, I want to know exactly what I'm talking about, right? I don't want to give any misinformation, because guess what? That's why we're doing these things.
Yeah. We're trying to get
too much misinformation out there, right? And so we're just trying to do our part to give our perspective on it, but maybe some things that you didn't actually know actually happened.
Yeah. So like we always have said, we'll keep going, keep peeling back those layers of the onion. Woo, woo, woo.
Belly dancing.
Thank you guys for joining us this week. Follow us on our socials. I'll leave all the handles in the
right
description.
After we talk trash about social media.
Well, I'm sorry, but there's no other way to get out there to the world without social. TikTok.
Yeah, we're building our platforms.
Yes, it's if you've done any kind of social media, it's all work. But go follow us. We'd really appreciate that. You can follow the show on your platform, rate us. That also helps a ton. But we just appreciate you being here. Until next week, have a wonderful life. And we will see you for some more untethered content.
Stay untethered.
Stay untethered.